All right, hell yeah. It looks like we live. Yeah, my name is Tyler, host and founder of CFB Season. They call me Season. Tonight's show, we're gonna do it with Chris, our co-host of the channel. So what we're gonna do tonight is a little bit of news and notes, kind of what went on in the college football world the last week about roughly, and we also going to give our top five things to look for spring football coming up, which starts next week. At the end of this week, actually, I think some teams might have actually already started. So it's not going to be a long show tonight. So with that being said, let's bring in our co-host and jump right into things. Yo, what's up, Chris?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Man, living well, bro. We won't spend too much time on tonight's show, so let's jump right into some stuff. So we're gonna
Yeah.
start with some news and notes. First thing we're gonna talk about is Oklahoma hiring Jim Nagy as a general manager. I think this happened sometime last week.
You.
My opinion on this, I feel like I feel like Brent Venables is it looks very desperate on his watch, on his behalf. We already know how you feel about the general manager position. I completely I completely agree with you on it. I feel like it's kind of pointless in college football. I mean, the coaching staff does all the recruiting. Um, what does the general manager like? How much roster control is he actually going to have when it comes to that power? Because I mean, obviously, you got a player personnel department. Everybody's doing their job in that department. Um, I think this is just like a figurehead position to give someone some money. But it looks very desperate, I feel like, for Brent Venables here. I think he's pressing. I think he feels the pressure. He's on the hot seat coming up this season. I have him on the hot seat at least. And that's just my opinion on it. I think he's pressing. He feels the pressure. So he thinks this move's going to save him. What you think about this?
Yeah, like you said, it's pretty known how I feel about it. I don't understand the whole position. It just seems like it's just a waste of money that could be better suited on other things, like maybe getting players or something. I think Stanford's GM is the only one that's actually doing it like a NFL thing. Andrew Luck, he actually they reported him being the GM of Stanford. He's actually going to have all the final decisions on roster acquisitions, not the head coach. But the other schools, they're not doing that. So I also find it interesting, like, I haven't seen schools like Georgia, Oregon, Texas. They may have a guy on staff that does all this, but they haven't announced any like GM hires. So yeah, I agree with you. Now I will say Jim Nagy is very well respected and probably one of the best talent evaluators out there as far as getting talent. He's done a phenomenal job at the Senior Bowl and all of the things that entails. So, I mean, I will say that he is really good at it. So, I don't know, maybe it'll work out. Definitely agree with you though on him being on the hot seat, Brent Venables. And that's what makes it weird to me is like what happens when Brent is fired, or if he is fired, does Nagy just get fired with the head coach?
Hmm.
Does he get to stay on?
Yeah, I feel like he's going.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would think so. But then at the same time, I'm like, why would he leave such a good job at the Senior Bowl if there wasn't maybe some reassurances or something? Maybe, I don't know. I'll be curious to see how the GM position evolves in college football.
yeah. I seen some other. I think some other programs might have made some of the same hires. I know it's
Yeah.
been even before NIL, they were making some general manager hires. I just feel like it's a pointless and overpaid. Like how you said, it's overpaid position. You know, you really just need your coaching staff and your player personnel department.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right, let's jump into our next news and notes. We have the ACC, man. They're able, for now at least, to hold it by a string with Florida State and Clemson, I believe. I feel like you're more knowledgeable in this. I'll let you kind of take the floor on this one. But to our audience, Clemson and Florida State is officially staying with the ACC. The ACC Board of Directors and universities' respective boards solidified their decision.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, I think as everybody knows, the lawsuit that's been going on, FSU and Clemson both have been trying to sue the ACC to get out of the contract or to get the grant of rights kind of to go away and all that. And that looked like that was going to take years to get settled. So ACC kind of agreed to give them a number right now today. If they wanted to leave, it'd be 165 mil, which they're not going to pay. But the interesting part of the agreement is for the next 5 years, it'll go down, I think, 18 million per year. And by the time they get to 2030, 75 million will be the exit fee, which, is kind of a more doable number for FSU and Clemson.
Uh-huh.
And I think what maybe some people that don't pay attention to this stuff probably don't know is why 2030 is a big deal is because that's when the Big Ten contract comes up. That's also when the college football playoff contract comes up. That's also when March Madness contract comes up.
Uh-huh.
And that's also when the Big 12 contract comes up. And the SEC contract comes up in 2034. So that's kind of like the time when everybody's kind of predicting like madness to happen, a whole new college football. 2030, 2031 is when people are starting to think. I would lean towards us probably hearing things around 2029, probably maybe some announcements, but that's when everybody's predicting kind of the big next big change. But this does give us at least 5 years of kind of maybe some quietness on the realignment front. That's going to be nice because it seems like every year since Texas and Oklahoma joined the SEC, we've been kind of just like constantly in realignment news. So this gives us 5 years apiece, and I think it's foolish for anybody to predict what's going to happen next. 5 years is a good bit of ways. God knows what's going to happen to college football in 5 years. A lot of things could change. So I know right now, as of today, SEC and Big Ten, from everything that's been reported, is not interested in them. That could change in 5 years, though. If the Big Ten kind of starts wanting to get FSU and Clemson, does the SEC kind of go, okay, we got to get them to prevent the Big Ten from getting them? I think the big winner of this to kind of close it out is North Carolina, because from everything that's been reported, North Carolina is actually the school SEC and the Big Ten wants really bad. And they were able to kind of sit back and let FSU and Clemson spend all the lawyer money. And now they got all the answers without having to take it to court. So it'll be curious. At least we get 5 years apiece. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, and you already know how I feel about realignment, man. If they're going to have realignment, I need parameters, bro. I need rules, parameters, strict guidelines. So at least we get peace on this. Florida State and Clemson is going to stay in the ACC at least until 2030. So we get 5 more years of FSU and Clemson in the ACC and no litigation in the courts. I think they said they're going to drop the lawsuits and all that stuff.
Yeah, they had both schools had board of trustees meeting today, and it's already been announced. They both agreed they're dropping all their lawsuits, so that should be coming relatively soon.
All right, I got one more news and notes. This one's very short. They made an announcement today on the newest members of the College Football Playoff Committee. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think you sent it to me.
Yeah, so we got Baylor's AD up in there. Here's a big name, Mark D'Antonio, ex-Michigan State coach.
Oh, wow, I hadn't heard that name in a while.
He's going to be on the committee. Maryland AD, Middle Tennessee AD, a sports writer, and a former Ole Miss tight end. So here's 6 new members announced today in the College Football Playoff Committee.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into our top 5 things to look for that we think is going to be some big storylines and just, things to watch coming up for spring football, which is starting very, very soon. Some programs already started around the country. So how you want to do it? You want to just go one by one or announce all 5 or?
But let's do one by one. I think that'd probably be
okay.
Easiest.
We'll start with my top 5. So my number one thing that I'm looking for this spring is going to be how does Texas and Penn State's weapons, specifically their wide receiver room, pan out. We could start with Texas. Okay, so they lost some cats. They lost Isaiah Bond. They lost Matthew Golden. Look what Matthew Golden's doing at the combine. He lit it up at the combine. So they lost 2 starters. They are returning Ryan Wingo. That's one weapon that has a lot of experience and reps and all that stuff. But who are they going to turn to for their other receivers in the room? And I got two names, and they really highly touted freshmen, highly touted incoming freshmen early in Ruiz, and I'm going with Khalid Lockett and Jamie French. Two names to keep eyes and ears on for Texas football. I think these two they really talented, really elite wide receivers, and I think they're going to make a splash year one as freshmen for Arch. Now they lost a tight end too. I want to say Texas.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they lost a lot. They bringing back Arch, and everyone's expecting Texas to still win, still go to the SEC championship, still make the playoffs. Some are even having them as national champion favorite now. They lost a lot, and they replacing with some highly touted people coming in though. So I think that's one team for sure that you got to keep an eye on. And how does the weapons look involved for Arch this spring? My next team is Penn State.
Yeah.
We all were down on their wide receivers. I mean, you remember what happened in the semifinal? Not a single catch from Penn State's wide receivers. I think Tyler Warren had all the catches and the backs.
Yeah.
Now Penn State's returning like everything and everywhere, and they got Jim Knowles on the DC side, and they got a lot of expectations as well. But what are they going to look like with their pass catchers? And I got two names for the audience to keep an eye on for Penn State. Two transfers that they brought in: Kyron Hudson and Devontae Ross. I'm hearing big things so far from the winter workouts. Devontae Ross, transfer from Troy. He had over 1,000 yards with Troy this past season. Kyron Hudson's another name that's kind of been separating themselves. So it looks like they're going to lean on these two transfers. They lost Tyler Warren, their tight end as well. So that's my number one thing to look for this spring is Penn State's weapons and Texas weapons for Arch and for Drew Allen, respectively.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised on the Texas one before I go to my number one. The Texas one that they didn't. It was interesting to me they didn't go after any receivers really in the portal window. I'd be curious to see if they attack that position in the spring, or maybe it's probably short just trusting the guys that they have recruited over the last couple of years. But yeah, I like that one. My first biggest question was, and I tried not to put any other quarterbacks on here after this, but to me, the Alabama quarterback situation is one of the biggest question marks. It seems like it's going to be between Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, and that highly touted freshman. I think it's Keelan Russell. I think you broke him down on the show with Mathis. I think this is huge because it's such a big, critical year for DeBoer in year two with that fan base and the Alabama school, that he has to get this one kind of right. It seems like from everything that's kind of being reported, Ty Simpson's kind of got the edge right now. But I'd watch Austin Mack. I don't think a lot of people know this, but he was actually at Washington. He was DeBoer and Grubb handpicked him, recruited him to Washington. And then when they left, he transferred to Alabama. So I'd keep an eye on Austin Mack. I think he could potentially take the job. But I think right now it's Ty Simpson's job to lose. But I'll be curious to see. It's such a crucial position, as we know. He's got to get this one right in year two.
I agree with you. I think you got to at least start the year with Ty Simpson. I don't know if he necessarily gives you the highest ceiling. I think experience-wise, he's going to give you the safest floor. I am skeptical a little bit about if you're rolling out with the highly touted 5-star Russell, right? That's his name.
Yeah. I don't think he'll start.
I think towards the end of the season, I would be a little bit more comfortable with rolling him out.
Yeah.
I think if you start him out the gate, you're going to have some growing pains. That's one thing I remember evaluating Russell with.
Yeah.
Especially with his pocket awareness and facing SEC defenses and things like that. I think you have more growing pains with Russell. Now, what happens if they roll out Simpson and he struggles out the gate? You got controversy early.
Yeah. I think you could see. I think you could see Austin Mack getting in there. I think if you're going with Russell early, that's a bad sign because
Mm-hmm.
You got two guys, one that's a veteran in Ty Simpson, Austin Mack. I think he's been playing for about 1 year now, so they both got the leg up on the freshman. That would be concerning if Russell, or it could be, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe he just kills it so much in spring and fall that they have to start him. But yeah, I agree. I think if Russell was gonna be at any point starting, it'd probably be later in the year.
All right. My number 2 thing that I want everybody to keep an eye out this spring is all right, we're gonna go LSU's defense. LSU's defense, year 2, we got Blake Baker. I'm gonna make a bold prediction right here. I think Blake Baker is the most hungriest defensive coordinator in the country in year 2. They got some really good DCs out there with Knowles and Allen, and you remember we talked about them last, and Kirby, and and Venables, and we got some good DCs. But I feel comfortable in what Blake Baker's building. So he cut the total defense in half from his first year, and compared to the year before him with Matt House's defense. So he brought the total defense into the 60s, which was phenomenal. I think they were near dead last in total defense when he took over. And we all said that if he could cut it in half, that would be a good first year number. And so year 2, man, they hit the transfer portal really hard, LSU's defense and offense. They brought in the elite edge, 13 sacks on his career, Patrick Payton from Florida State. They brought in Pylan, the defensive end from Florida. Lots of secondary transfers. We got Perkins and we got Whit Weeks, two linebackers that suffered injuries. That's going to be coming back healthy for spring. I think he has so much to prove, Blake Baker, and this LSU's defense. I'm curious to see how everything's going to play out. I'm really excited to see all the battles. We got a lot of position battles going on with LSU's defense this spring, especially with safety, secondary. I would say 2 weaknesses, however, right now is going to be defensive tackle and safety, the middle of the defense a little bit. That's 2 areas that LSU's defense is going to have to clean up. But I think as far as storylines and things to look for, LSU's defense, I think now they're in the 60s in year 1 with Baker. Will be a good number in year 2. Cut that in half again.
Yeah.
Or you think he has like a top 20 defense year?
Are you asking like what do I think it's going to end up being?
Yeah.
Oh, I think year 2 he's going to end up having like top 15. I really do.
I think he might explode this year.
Yeah.
He got some tough early matchups with Clemson and Florida, but I can't wait to do some spring evals on LSU defense.
Yeah. Though. Yeah, I'm pretty hyped about LSU defense. I think because me and you talk about it, I'm a big Blake Baker fan, so I thought, considering the circumstances last year, he did a fairly decent job. I think me and you talked about LSU fans, or some people were getting mad at him, towards the end of the year, but I thought he did good for what he had, being his first year.
He overachieved defensively.
Yeah, I agree with that. Expect a big jump, in my opinion.
I think so too. Yeah. So that's my number 2.
My number 2, and I think this will be a trend on my list. We're doing 5, so I think I have a second team also here with the same kind of question mark. But Tennessee's playmakers on the outside, the wide receivers. Well, you could also add in running back there too, since they lost Simpson. That, to me, last year the Tennessee's biggest issues was wide receivers. The defense was great. Nico was, he was hit or miss. I don't know if I don't know if that was more wide receiver problem or him, but they just didn't have really many playmakers. They didn't really get much from the portal other than that Amari Jefferson kid, which, from what I've understood, he's hurt for the spring, so I don't think he's going to participate in the spring. They lost 4 of their top 6 receivers, and they didn't add much. They do have Mike Matthews, which was a highly touted receiver last year's class. He didn't play much, and then they also got the 4-star Travis Smith coming in. It doesn't look like it's going to be fixed, so I'm curious. To me, that's the biggest question mark. That's something I'll be paying attention to.
They still got Brew McCoy or no?
No, I think he's gone.
Okay.
Yeah. If he's not, he's got to be in like his 10th year, though.
Yeah, they lost the tight end? Or tight end's back or no?
I think he's gone.
Yeah, so man, that's a good analysis right there on Tennessee's wide receivers. They're gonna have some new faces, and someone's gonna have to step up.
Yeah,
Someone's
if
gonna have to step
yeah,
up.
yeah,
Um,
and to side, I think Nico's also. I think the whole offense really, especially with the running back, is just a question mark. I think the defense is going to be fine. They do lose some, but I think they're going to be okay.
now I do have Tennessee. I like their offensive line next year. I'm
Yeah,
bold. I'm boldish on their offensive line. Nico's going into year two. They're going to have to pass more than what they did a year ago. I think.
I think so too.
Dylan Sampson. I mean, he had like 28 touchdowns or whatever it was.
Hmm.
I don't think you're going to get that same repeated success on the ground for year two with Nico.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's jump into my number three thing to look for this spring. And I got Florida's offense. And man, speaking of Florida's offense, DJ Lagway, bro, they did an interview with Robert Griffin III. Phenomenal interview, man. And if y'all to those watching, if y'all get a chance, man, go check out this interview they did on Robert Griffin III's podcast. Man, great questions. Just a really great young head, leveled, bright future. I think this kid's gonna be special. Now on that podcast, they asked Lagway if they used Billy Napier's hot talk seek as motivation last season, and he said that was definitely motivation because I feel like they were disrespecting our coach and disrespecting us genuinely. And
Hmm.
they asked Lagway who's going to be some of the people to watch for, and he said his offensive line. He said his offensive line is going to be one of the best in the country. We'll see. They're returning 4 out of the 5 starters for offensive line. Their center was an All-American,
Yeah,
Jake Slaughter. That's who's going to lead the group. Really good offensive line coming back, especially when you got all 4 coming back. So they just replacing one position. I want to say it's like the right tackle, maybe. Now their backs is going to be running back by committee for Florida. Really, 4 really great backs, Chris. Like they're gonna
yeah,
have, dude. They're gonna have just 4 solid backs that they're gonna lean on. Just committee it. A lot of different touches. Offensively, they like to run a lot of 11 personnel. One running back, one tight end. They run that
yeah,
pistol shotgun. They didn't do too much empty last year with Lagway, and they didn't do too much quick hitters with Lagway. Um, that was something I noticed. I feel like some areas that Lagway is going to have to improve on, especially this spring, is taking obviously more command of the offense. He threw 12 touchdowns and 9 picks. That was a lot of picks, kind of, for his freshman season. So
yeah,
I think decision making at times he could be a little bit. I think he needs to be more patient in the pocket. He does have an NFL arm. Like he can make all the throws in the world. So I think he needs to trust his arm a little bit more, trust the pocket, stay a little bit more patient, because at times whenever he would break the pocket, he would force some ugly
yeah,
interceptions. I know. Um, and another area he needs to improve on is zone defense. That was another zone defense kind of ate him up a little bit at times. He's not the most mobile quarterback. He did battle a couple injuries last year, so I think he's going to be more mobile this year. I got him as my number 2 in the Heisman.
hmm,
Way too early Heisman. I got him number 2 right now. I got high expectations for Lagway, and they're going to lean on the ground hard, I think, this year. Now, the wide receiver rooms kind of got a little questions, I would say, but I think they got some guys though. They
I'm
got,
excited for the Brown and Wilson kid.
yeah. So the 2 freshmen, Brown and Wilson. I think one of them got to emerge. I think Brown is probably going to be your slot guy.
Hmm.
It's elite elite speed. Florida's just known for the elite speed, but I think Brown got a chance to start on the inside in the slot. I think uh, Wilson's probably he's more possession receiver.
Yeah.
He's gonna probably battle for the outsides spot. But they hit the portal. They brought Michael Servant Jr. from UCLA.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I think he's a kind of a big name to watch for. He might battle it out a little bit to see where he jumps out for receiver. And I forgot. I think they might have had another portal edition, but I think those are some of you guys. They also return maybe one or two that I'm missing, but Lagway, DJ Lagway, man. I want to show you a clip before I move on. And let's see who Florida don't open up with Miami and like they did last year.
I think they got a pretty easy game if I remember right, but I'm not sure.
They might have two tune-up games, which is really going to help out Lagway.
Yeah, I'm excited for Florida. I'm actually I'm starting to buy into them the more and more we get into the off season. I'm pretty high on them. I think it's going to be a big year for Billy. I don't know if they'll make the playoff or not, but they could be like a surprise team in the SEC. Still got a tough schedule. Basically, going to play the same schedule as last year, as far as SEC schedule. I think it just flips.
All right, you see it on the screen?
Yep.
So it's definitely a big difference.
One of the things that I loved about you coming out of high school, not as a player on the field, but off the field, super humble.
Appreciate it.
Right. Super humble. It's good to see you being the same young man that when I talked to in 10th grade, now you are the man at Florida.
Ain't nothing yet.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I'm talking about. That's that humbleness. That's that humbleness. But you are the lead dog at Florida. What helps you maintain that humbleness about yourself?
I say God.
I messed it up. But he basically, man, it was just how humble he is, man.
He's an amazing kid.
Yeah, man, he got a bright future. Florida's my most hated school, but I'm pulling for this kid, man. I'm pulling.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah, I am too. And I know I'm a Georgia fan, so I'm supposed to hate the Gators, but he's a kid that's hard not to root for. He's just super humble and he's been raised right. So I'm excited to watch him grow and hopefully he can kill it this year. But yeah, my third, I think since we talked about the ACC earlier and the piece they're going to have for the next 5 years, I think FSU's rebuild is interesting to watch this spring. What kind of things we're going to hear. I don't know. Well, I don't know if we should trust what we hear because last offseason we heard about how they were going to have the best D-line in the country, and then Georgia Tech just mashed them in the opener. But I'll be curious to see how the rebuild goes because now you got about 5 years to get to becoming an attractive a team and program that the SEC and Big Ten may possibly want. So you got to get your shit together. You got to get it. You got to get this thing running. You've been screaming at the TVs that you deserve more money and you're this big brand, and I think this is a huge year. So I'm really curious to see the fit with Thomas. I can't ever say his last name, but
Castanelos.
I think he's a perfect fit for Gus's offense, but is it all going to gel in year one? Got to open up with Alabama, so right out of the gate, that's pretty bad. So
remember we breaking down Gus and Florida State. Last show. And you remember how I said what 6-6? What you got to hit to survive with Norvell?
Man, after a 2-10 season, do you think it's just go to the bowl game?
6-6?
I would say. I'd say he has to win 7.
So look, I got the schedule pulled up right there. Run through it real quick.
So let's see that I see. Okay, Alabama, I think is a loss. I think they win the next 2, East Texas and Kent State. I think they can get Virginia, so I'll go ahead and win there 3.
Mm-hmm.
Miami's coming up on my list, but I'm going to go Miami, so I still have them only at 3 wins. I think they get Pitt. Maybe. No.
Maybe.
I'm going to give it to Pitt, so they're still at 3. I think they get Stanford. That's 4. I think they get Wake. That's 5.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson's going to drag them.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Tech, I think they can get Virginia Tech. I'm down on Virginia Tech, so that's 6 there. Oof.
That would probably be. I don't think they'd be in Florida. That would probably be 7 if you want to hit that's your reach mark.
And that's tough because North Carolina State plays them tough.
That's tough too. At the end of the year too, you better hope you're having a good season and everyone's still bought in by the end of the year.
So they're gonna have to win the Pittsburgh game.
That Pitt Miami scratch right there.
Yeah, that could decide the season. Virginia, Miami, Pitt could decide the season because I think Alabama's just going to be an automatic L.
I think so too.
If Alabama loses that one, DeBoer's probably fired before he gets back to Tuscaloosa.
Oh man! So, all right, what we did? That was 3.
Yeah, that was 3.
My fourth thing to watch for this spring is North Carolina's coaching staff, led by new head coach Bill Belichick. So their whole staff got finalized today. They got Bill Belichick as the head coach. Let's see some other prominent positions.
The 2 Nepo babies at the top.
The Belichicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of followed Belichick his whole life. Jamie Collins. I didn't realize they had Jamie Collins. So Freddie Kitchens is the offensive coordinator.
What did I call him last week?
I can't.
Bobby Kitchens or something.
Yeah, I can't remember. So this is his staff that he's rolling with in year 1.
Yeah.
It looks like a good mix.
You like it?
I don't hate it, I would say.
Okay. I'm trying to
Defensively wise, I feel like I'm higher on the defensive side of the staff.
Yeah, I do joke about the Nepo baby stuff, but I think Steve Belichick's a wonderful DC. I think he showed that last year.
Yeah. Linebacker, so he's the DC and linebackers.
Yeah. I do think he's a phenomenal coach. I try not to be. We try on this show to be unbiased and all. But I'm always honest about things and people I don't like. I think it's obvious if you follow my Twitter. I'm not a Bill Belichick guy. I do think he's a great coach. He's the greatest.
You're not a Belichick guy,
No,
like coaching or personality or a little bit of all, or
personality. I think he's.
The hoodie.
I do. I will acknowledge he's a great coach. You can't sit here and be stupid and say he's not. Like, that's just ridiculous. I understand he had Brady, but he was also like one of the greatest defensive coaches in the NFL. He's trained so many great coaches. I just don't like him. I'll just be straight up. I don't like him. He's just not my cup of tea. But I personally wasn't that impressed. I was curious to see how you thought. Because you're more into the coaching stuff than I am, and I didn't know if it was maybe me being a hater.
I'm interested to see how he does with the college football. He's 72 years old.
Yeah.
Like you said, really great defensive mind coach, and
yeah,
when it comes to like managing everything from a franchise to maybe a program perspective, he could do that too. But just with all the success he had in the NFL, I'm just so intrigued to see what he's going to do in North Carolina, kind of.
Definitely going to be must watch. Like, I'm going to watch North Carolina football.
He could easily bust. He could easily. I could see both scenarios. So we'll see what happens with the first year and the staff, and what would be a good expectation you think year 1 for him?
I don't think they didn't make a bowl game last year, did they?
Like 8-4, 7-5, 8-4.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm the type of guy, like, I think year 1, unless it's like 0-12, I just give them all a pass on year 1. Like, I don't really have expectations for year 1 coaches.
You gotta at least go to a bowl game, I think, though. At least
yeah. I mean, I think North Carolina's talented enough that they should expect a bowl game. It's always been hard for me to, like, judge a coach after year 1. I mean, if he went 0-12, I think that would be fair to judge. But
yeah.
Yeah, I think 6, 7, 8 wins is probably what I would be realistically looking for as a North Carolina fan. I'll be upfront though. I haven't like studied the roster up and down.
Yeah, same here.
So I don't know. I do know they lost that running back, who I hope becomes a Cowboy.
Yeah, I was just looking at the staff, but yeah. So spring we could look at their some spring evals on the players.
Yeah. So my fourth one. Oh, were you done with that one?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. My fourth one. Playmakers again. Last one, that's playmakers. I think this honestly is bigger than Tennessee's question. at wide receiver, but I didn't realize until I was prepping for the show that Miami wide receivers, every starter is gone. No one's back with more than 150 yards to their name. They went out and got C.J. Daniels, which you're very familiar with.
That won't be enough.
They went out, and then they got Trader, which he's been there, so he's supposed to be the next big thing. They also got the kid Nycard that didn't play that much last year from my hometown, Moultrie. I was high on him as a high school kid. I watched him play for 4 years at Collier County, and he was a beast in high school. But man, that's a Beck. I guess his girl. He just loves his girl so much because I still don't understand why Beck went down there with no wide receiver help. That's big.
I tell you what, man. I think Miami's gonna bust this year, man.
I'm with you. We said that before. Like, you got to watch that. What I was so high on C.J. Daniels going to LSU. What happened with that? Like, what happened? He just didn't.
Just too much on the quick game. He couldn't really get over the top on DBs. He wasn't really used over the middle of the field. Just lots of comebacks, lots of quick bubbles and comebacks, and just quick hitters. Kind of. He's decent after the catch a little bit. He showed some type of potential, but
I was super high on him coming out of Liberty.
I guess his routes and the LSU offense just wasn't suited enough.
Yeah. I don't see him making much of a difference in Miami. You can't do it at LSU.
From what I've seen from him, I don't see him as a true wide receiver 1. I see him as like a borderline 2, 3, maybe even a 3. But I don't think he has that skill set to lead. Maybe with this wide receiver group, he might.
Yeah, and this may be a bad approach by me, but I feel like he's been in college football for a couple of years now. At this point, you kind of are what you are.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to go from 4th string at LSU to being like a Heisman front runner.
No, he's good for about 50 catches, I would say 55. Yeah. He's like a 55, 60 catch guy.
Yeah, that's a huge question mark when you got Beck there. I don't know. He struggled last year. Granted, he didn't have much help, but UGA had some experienced wide receivers that just couldn't catch the ball. So I'll be curious to see how that goes down.
Yeah, hopefully they got a freshman out of the recruiting class or someone that could pop off.
Yeah, and I think another story note or storyline that related to that is Beck's not able to throw in the spring right now because of his injury.
And you know how hurtful that is? No chemistry with your wide receivers, your room.
You know that is better than anybody.
Bro. Hey, that spring's so crucial, bro.
Yeah.
So crucial.
Yeah, I don't know when he starts throwing again. I would imagine it's going to be before fall camp. I hope.
You might miss the summer too, huh?
Oof, that's just. I'm with you. I'm down on Miami. I think they're going to have a. I wouldn't say a FSU 2-10, but I think they're going to have a Michigan-like year.
They're going to be preseason ranked top 25, maybe even like top 20, top 18-ish.
Oh, I think people are going to put top 15-ish.
Yeah, I think so too. They're going to be kind of the overhype. Carson Beck, he's just popping in right there at fall camp, man. Especially and with all the new too much question marks. I just don't see everything gelling out for Miami. I think they bust and drop at least 4. At least, I think.
I'm with you.
All right. So my final thing I want everybody to keep an eye out on for the spring football is will SMU and Indiana repeat success that they had this past season? SMU, we kind of have a better idea of kind of what we think they're going to be. Indiana, I don't know. How you feel about that analysis right there?
I'm on the Indiana front. I'm kind of nervous for how much they lost in the portal. It seems like this is going to be a program that's kind of going to live or die through the portal, and I think as FSU has shown, when you live and die by the portal, it can be a lot of like a roller coaster up and down. Yeah. Now I will say I do love. I may be higher on him than a lot of people, but I do really like that Cal quarterback. He could be the difference. Yeah, he could be the difference maker. But I don't expect Indiana to do what they did last year. I don't know. I haven't looked at the schedule, but
so offensively, all right, yeah, Fernando Mendoza from Cal, 6'5", 225. He went 16-6, touchdown interceptions, 3,000 yards, 55 in the country in QBR. He was named ACC Quarterback of the Week 3 times last year. They lost both backs. They hit the transfer portal. I think the back that's going to win the starting role is going to be Roman Hemby from Maryland.
Yeah.
I liked Hemby. He was now they also got the cat from UAB who put up like 800 yards last year too. But I think Hemby is going to be your lead back. Both starting wide receivers return. I don't know how they look in offensive line wise, but I think offensively they probably still. I don't know if they, with Curtis Roke and all the numbers they're putting up, I don't know if they're gonna. We'll see. We'll see. If he does that, Kurt or your boy Kurt, man, what a coach.
Yeah. I do think that's the X factor.
If he could put together 2 back-to-back years of just hitting the portal, 20 plus whatever guys. Their class was 42 total. Bro, if he does it back-to-back years, man, that's phenomenal. Because that's hard to do. That's hard to do, man, with those heavy transfers and chemistry and new faces every year and new roles. And
I think with Indiana, and I would imagine their fans probably have this realistic expectations, but I think with Indiana, they're probably just going to be a program that just goes on the roller coaster. They'll have, maybe next 2 or 3 years is kind of down years, maybe 6-6, 7-5s. And then, he kind of keeps the people, they retain the players that they get and then kind of have an explosion on like year 4 or something. But, I think, and now I will say I think it's obvious on this show, I'm a huge fan of their coach. I despite me not being a huge fan of the way he coached that Notre Dame game, overall, I think he's a phenomenal coach. I had him I think he was in my top 15 top coaches. I love him. He could be the X factor. He wins everywhere he goes. So it's a big. I'll be curious to see how they do next year.
And then real quickly on SMU, obviously we got Kevin Jenkins.
Yeah,
the quarterback. He lit it up. He's back. He played really, really bad though against Penn State in the playoffs. So that he got exposed against Penn State. So I think he knows what he needs to work on this spring.
Turnovers was an issue most of the year too.
Red Lashley's entering, I think, like year 5 or year 6. He kind of got the program rocking and rolling right now. What surprised me with SMU, I didn't realize how big they were in the trenches. They hit the portal hard on the trenches again. So I think SMU is going to have similar success. Will they win that? Will they make it to the ACC championship game? Things like that. But so now, do you think? I think SMU is a lot to be ranked preseason.
Yeah.
Do you think Indiana is a preseason top 25 after the year they had? Another huge transfer haul. Do you think the media and the coaches are buying into Indiana for another year?
I think the media will absolutely. Will I vote them top 25? No.
I don't think we had them in our way too early.
I'm not going to vote them top 25. But now with the media, because I think sometimes the media tends to base it off of a lot of last year rather than doing the work and digging into stuff. I don't think they're. I don't think they should be, but I do think they will be top 25. If I did put them in the top 25, they'd be in that 21 to 25 range.
Okay. Where you had at SMU, if you remember correctly?
Where was I at on SMU?
Yeah, you have them like top 15 or more of like a top 20 to 25-ish?
I think top 20-ish.
Okay.
I love Kevin Jennings, but I think he, like you said, he's got to work on the turnovers. I'm a big fan of Rhett Lashley. And it was cool when you mentioned the how big the guys was. I actually remember reading right before they joined the ACC, Rhett Lashley actually called Mike Norvell, and a couple of other buddies of his that played in the bigger conferences. And one of the first things they told him was, you got to get bigger. Like, if you're going to go up a competition, you got to get bigger on the line of scrimmages. And like that, Rhett Lashley has said in a lot of his interviews, they have emphasized size on the line of scrimmage, because going from a G5 to the ACC, and I know we all joke on the ACC, but the size difference between the two is still massive. So, I think SMU is one of those places that can do big things if with the right guy, and I think Rhett Lashey's the right guy.
All right, let's finish off with your number 5.
Prime time, baby. We ain't fixing to do a pre-spring without mentioning prime time.
Hey man, he's actually having a more quiet off season than normal.
Kind of crazy, ain't it?
A little bit.
Kind of crazy, kind of scary. Usually he's pretty out there. I'll be honest. I was one of those that thought he would have been gone by now because his son was gone. But kudos to Dion. I personally love it because I think Dion being in college football is good for college football. I think him being at Colorado is good for college football. I am very curious to see how it goes now that his son, Shador's gone, and basically his adopted son, Travis Hunter, who he's took under his wing. His 2 biggest playmakers, I think 2 of the guys that were probably the most important to that football team for the last 2 years is now gone. The quarterback situation is real fascinating because they got the Liberty kid.
Caden Slaughter.
Yeah, Caden Slaughter. And they got Julian Lewis. And I followed the Lewis recruitment. This isn't based on anything I've heard. I know like through other reporting, Lewis's camp, kind of wanted to go somewhere where they were going to get the guaranteed starting job. And then at that for a while, they looked like Colorado was going to be that place, but then they went out and got another quarterback. So I'll be curious of that dynamic. Obviously, replacing a guy like Travis Hunter, you're not going to replace that. You're just going to have to hope a bunch of others step up. I'll be curious to see how it goes. I feel like it's going to be it's either going to go really well or it's going to crash and burn. What's your thoughts on Colorado?
So they didn't just lose Sanders and Travis.
Oh yeah, they lost way more.
They lost Will Shepard. They lost Jimmy Horn Jr. That's just really some big offensive playmakers right there. I didn't even really look. I mean, they lost the other Sanders, the other brother. So they got a lot to replace. I guess you start with the quarterback position, right? We got a good battle between Salter and he was a 5-star Julian Lewis.
I think he was. I think he actually lost that, and it was like a 4-star in the final rankings.
So Caden Salter enters his 5th year in college football. He regressed last season. With he was with Liberty for a while.
Yeah, with Jamie Chadwell.
He regressed last season. But he does have a lot of that experience on his belt. I think he probably wins the battle to start off the year. But knowing Dion, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes with the freshman out the gate. But
nothing surprises
me personally, I'd probably go Lewis probably by like week 4 or 5 maybe. Yeah. Or after you drop a game or 2 maybe. I don't know if I would start him. Now you could maybe. He might be that legit, but we could keep a good eye on that battle, how that's looking. But I think he probably go Salter at the start for the experience, and then throw him when you feel like he's ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious also with the quarterback from Liberty. What was his name again?
Salter.
Okay. That kid coming from the offense that they ran at Liberty, which I think if everybody knows, it's kind of like it's basically the triple option in the shotgun. I'll be curious to see how he transitions from that to a more pro style type offense at Colorado, how that's going to work out, since the last 2 years he's kind of ran I wouldn't say gimmicky. Well, it is gimmicky, but a kind of gimmicky offense at Liberty.
Yeah. So in 2023, man, he balled out with Liberty.
Yeah.
Then he regressed pretty hard in 2024, but really good athlete, dual threat, could do both through the air and on the ground.
Yeah. Yep. Julian
Lewis is 6'1", 190.
Is he? Wow, I thought he was bigger than that.
You're gonna have to put on a little bit of weight. A little bit bulk up over the offseason.
Yeah, he kind of fell off a little bit in the recruiting. I know at the beginning of his recruitment, he was deemed the next Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson types, and then he he had a great senior year. I don't know what the recruiting rankings saw to drop him a little bit, but I'll be curious to see how he does at Colorado.
Bro, Colorado opens up with Georgia Tech, dog.
Ooh,
Damn.
that's a tough one.
In Boulder. Why?
Okay, it's in
I gotta show you
Colorado.
I gotta show you this schedule, dog.
Oh Lord.
All right,
Ooh.
open up with Georgia Tech. All right, Delaware
Yeah.
at Houston, Wyoming,
Mm.
BYU. I like it. I like how they get them at home.
Yeah.
At TCU, Iowa State at home, at Utah,
Hmm.
Arizona at home, at West Virginia. Close out with 2 tough ones with Arizona State. Damn, I really like their home schedule this year coming.
Yeah, that's the positive.
Looking at this schedule, people might think I'm crazy. I think it's manageable, bro.
I mean, it's the Big 12. I think the Big 12
I
is
don't think they
wide
beat
open.
Georgia. I don't think they beat Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I don't either.
Damn, BYU's opening up as a preseason top 10.
I think BYU would win. I think Iowa State.
I'll probably have BYU favored. I think it could be still a toss up, especially at home. We'll see it, and we got to see how they look, and obviously too, we don't really know what to really expect for all the new faces. TCU's returning a good bit. Iowa State's highly ranked.
They did lose those two receivers
Right here, like at Utah, Arizona, and West Virginia. That don't really scare me too much.
Yeah,
I think that's all manageable. The last 2 is really tough though.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think with the Big 12, we seen it last year. If you look at every game, the point spread it's almost like the NFL. The point spread is like 3.5 to 4 points in every game. I'm with you. It's manageable because it's the Big 12.
like 8-4 wouldn't be terrible. I feel like.
No, because I could see Arizona State, Kansas State being a loss. I could see Iowa State, and that's already 3 right there.
Georgia Tech probably.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech and BYU, I could see 7-5.
Mm-hmm.
Houston is a team that we think is going to take a big jump, so watch out for them too. And it's at Houston. Yeah, I mean, with a positive, you get Houston early, so you're not going to have to get them late.
I think between BYU and Iowa State,
yeah,
you gotta take one of those.
Yeah, out of those 2, you got to win at least one of those.
You got to take one of those. Yeah.
And TCU's expected to be pretty decent.
You can't lose to Houston. I know you expecting you can't lose that one either. I don't think.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, man. Spring football starting, man. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, man. This is a great show.
All right. As always, subscribe, like, and follow. Follow all the socials. Subscribe to YouTube. Next show is coming tomorrow. I want to say with an interview. Chris, you rolling that one out with
Yep.
Who we got tomorrow?
3 Tech Pod. The guys at 3 Tech Pod. They're gonna come on. We're just gonna kind of just bounce around and talk all college football. Teams that they're high on, teams they're low on, spring stuff. We're just gonna go all around the college football world. Every topic will probably be discussed tomorrow night. It'll be like this, a little shorter, probably 30 minutes actually. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Those guys do a phenomenal job, and they're kind of the inspiration that wanted me to kind of start doing shows. And
that's sick.
Yeah. They're a good show. They're in my like daily or weekly rotation for podcasts. So they do a phenomenal job.
Damn, this week's going by quick. All right, and then that's Wednesday. Thursday, we back for part 2 of the coordinators. I'm looking forward to that.
With our second and third year guys.
Yeah.
Hopefully, next Thursday is going to be our hot seat, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and also got a back-to-back Thursday night with JC. To the audience, we running out some college football win total bets. So be on the look at that. So we appreciate everybody for watching, and we'll see you next live show.
Yep.